I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but it's what I do during the readings, the proclamation of the readings. Now, I've already read these. I've probably heard them 4 times by now. And so, have you ever noticed what I do when I'm sitting in my chair? I'm looking out to see who's here. That's the great thing about celebrating 4, sometimes 5 masses on the weekend. I really get a sense of who's here. Now, I'm not taking attendance, don't get me wrong. That's not why I'm doing that. But over the last 19 months, as I've gotten to know many of the parishioners here at St. Mary's, I have become amazed, transformed, if you will, by what I've experienced. Now, I'm not going to single anybody out because I actually recognize a couple tonight who are here, and so I certainly don't want to highlight, because usually these people don't like to be patted on the back, but I'm just going to share with you the fact that we have many parishioners who do lots of volunteer work at either the Solanus Food Pantry, at St. Anthony's on Acushnet Avenue, and they help out at the soup kitchen. We have lots of parishioners who take the call of discipleship very seriously. They go above and beyond. Last week, I was talking with some parishioners who were at the 11:30 Mass who started this ministry at St. Anthony's just a couple of months ago. They were explaining to me what it's like to be a part of that. Now, I've been there. I've experienced it. I've witnessed the true humility on both parts. Those who dole out the meals and those who come in receiving food and meals. It's a beautiful call of discipleship that is answered, and I've witnessed it. Usually it's humbling. It really is. But these particular parishioners were telling me that they have been so transformed in such a small amount of time because they only give a couple of hours, but in those 2 hours that they give, they take away so much more. They take away something that, as someone said, I can't even describe using words. And as she told me this, a tear came down her face. Now, I'm not telling you this to make you feel good about people doing charitable works. We all know what the call of discipleship entails. I'm sharing this reality with you because of 2 things. What we hear in the prophet Isaiah in the first reading, and then what we hear in the gospel. Isaiah is a tool. He's an instrument used by God to remind us what we're supposed to be doing. Sharing our bread with those in need. Sharing our bread with the hungry. Now, we do that here at St. Mary's really, really well. Now, without raising your hands, I just want you to think, when you walked in to this church tonight, did you happen to notice the bins that are at every door, which we use to collect food items, cans and dried goods, that will go over to the Solanus Food Pantry during the middle of this week? If you saw those, great. Hopefully it was a trigger that, gee, next time I come to church, I should bring a canned good or 2, so that those who are hungry, heeding the words of Isaiah, might be fed. Now, if you didn't notice them, it's because we become so routinely conditioned to just do what we have to do. We highlight the need to give to the hungry, especially at Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, and again at Easter. We do this through our St. Vincent de Paul Society and through our social concerns ministry. But, as we know, there are so many people in our community, here in Dartmouth, New Bedford, Westport, and others who come to worship here, and those who don't worship here, who are hungry, and they're hungry more than 3 times a year, aren't they? Yes. So that's where the gospel comes in. Jesus says, very powerful opening phrase, you are the salt of the earth. Now, I fancy myself to be a bit of a cook of sorts. If I were to invite you all over to the rectory for chicken breast tonight, boneless chicken breast, and if I didn't season it with anything and served it to you on a plate, you would very politely eat it, saying to yourself all the while, my goodness, this is rather bland. Now, if I were to spice it up a bit, if I were to add some herbs and spices, salt and pepper, giving you that same meal, you might actually say, gee, that T-Bone's a pretty good cook. He knows what to do in the kitchen. Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth, because we need to be the ones who flavor our community. We need to flavor our community. The community that is hungry. The community that is sad. The community that is lonely and depressed. We have to spice things up a bit as we answer the call to faithful discipleship. We can do that in so many different ways because each of us is uniquely made in the image and likeness of God, and not one of us, or not two of us, are exactly the same. We're each different, and we bring to our community different things, different gifts, different ministries, different gifts of the Spirit. And so, my friends, as we go about the ordinariness of life, let's flavor our community. But I challenge each one of us, as I challenge myself, let's spice it up a bit.